Alrighty, Monday, June 24th. Pretty eventful session today. Let's jump into NQ here for a quick session recap. Now, taking it back to this morning's pre-market prep live stream, one of the items that we had chatted about that I was highlighting was the fact that although price was testing this key pivot right down here, one of the kind of red flags that I'd noticed is this series of lower highs that started to be established on Thursday's session and has yet to really show a change in character, right? So anytime you start to notice pattern like this, a structure like this, a series of lower highs within the context of what is very obviously a major uptrend, this is a time to be cautious, right? What we needed to see here was price breaking up and through that pre-market high to show a true change in character. So you have a series of lower highs here. In order to show a change in character, what you need price to break whatever the most recent lower high is and then show acceptance above that high. At that point, when that actually does break, that's your change of character, right? So this is why I talk so frequently about market structure and the importance of understanding market structure, because clues like this can tell you how to approach the session, right? So if you're coming into a session like today on NQ and you're looking for those long setups, you need to understand that until price actually breaks up and through that overnight high, the longs are going to be quite tricky, right? Not saying that they're not going to work or anything like that, but generally speaking, with scenarios like this, what I'll personally do is make sure I am being more aggressive with how I trail the trade. So we want to keep a tighter leash on any type of trade that is going to be counter that near-term structure, right? Because as of right now, this structure, what does it tell us? It tells us that shorts are going to be favored. So what we see is that price initially, if we jump actually into the 5-minute regular trading hours chart here, price initially shows that bid versus that 910 level, right? You get a push into, at the time, what was VWAP, session volume point of control, as well as that prior day value area low. You get the rollover, you get the undercut of that overnight low, right? Big bounce there into prior day volume point of control, but no real break of that prior day structure, and certainly no move up and through what was the overnight high and that prior day high. Now, this is significant because at the same time, what we had was ES showing an absolute monster move, right? You got the push up and through that prior day structure point. You have the push up and through that prior day high. So it tells us that ES is definitely the stronger of the two. Now, this is important, especially if you're trading both instruments. And if you're not, then you need to be cautious with how you treat this. Clear weakness right through here. Still in that key pivot, right? This is where it gets tricky because price is still in that key pivot. It's still in that key area. But how is the structure developing? Continues to develop in a bearish way, right? And so what you see here, getting even deeper into the details of the intraday, got this rollover here. Price makes a fresh session low, and then this is where you have to be really cautious all through this chop right here. You have session volume point of control, move right to this area. But again, take a look at how on this 5-minute chart, the details of just this structure right through here develop. You have a series of lower highs just within this microstructure. Not really all that confidence inspiring for grabbing longs in this area, right? So maybe you try a higher low, something like that, looking for that push back into that upside level of interest 950, or maybe the session high. Need to be keeping a very, very tight leash on any type of trade like that, or just acknowledging that the near-term structure is favoring shorts and looking for a short entry. So that's exactly what we had here. Now, as far as what we'll be looking at coming into tomorrow, let's take a look. Let me flip back to the 30-minute chart. So once this pivot failed to hold, what I had mentioned again in the pre-market prep there was previously a big volume void all through this area, right? It's starting to get a little bit filled in now, but anytime you have that big volume void, price is going to fill those areas quickly. So we have pretty much a momentum move. All of this area between these two levels of interest, the 910 and then the 800, this is all no man's land for me. So I won't take any trades through here. Not really interested in getting involved in interacting with price while it is continuing to push through that volume void, because I expect these lower levels of interest to trade. And as someone who is focusing on longs, once I see this pivot starting to fail, as well as the fact that we had major relative strength in ES, I'm just going to let NQ do its thing. Don't really have personally a ton of edge in this move lower until we start to see more buyers starting to step in. So as far as current location, we do have this prior area of support right through here, 750. So pretty much be the main watch heading into tomorrow, assuming there's not going to be too large of an overnight move here. Now buyers, if I zoom out, you can see buyers are going to be very interested in defending this level because, again, what do we have below this? Huge volume void. Not a lot of structure until we see price trade back down here into 19,400. All right, so I'll be paying close attention to see if any buyers show up through here, because that's going to be a significant area of support in the near term. Now, the other thing to consider on NQ, if we zoom out even more, not to the daily even, but to the weekly. Take a look at that weekly bar. Now, the weekly low, last week's low was at 904. Right? So essentially once that 900 level gave way, higher time frames are in control at this point. Sellers are in control at this point. So more red flags, more reasons to be cautious with any type of long opportunity. At a situation like this, you want to be making sure you're getting involved with the right spots and with very, very strong confluence trades, or just focusing on the short opportunity, right? So that's NQ. Continue to focus on that 750 downside level of interest, because again, that's kind of the last major point till price really starts to fill. What is the date there? June 12th, that big June 12th trend day. Again, anytime there's a large volume void where there's not a lot of structure, and I'm talking about volume profile over here, these areas tend to fill very, very quickly. So 750 main watch on NQ for tomorrow. Let's jump over to ES. ES definitely, in my opinion, the better opportunity today, the better structure for today. And again, this was all mentioned during the pre-market prep. What we had was ES was trading up near that prior day high. That's significant because at the time NQ was trading near that prior day low. So you got a pretty large delta between how the two are trading. They're not exactly mirrored, right? They trade fairly similarly a lot of the times, but in the case of today, details made a huge difference in the trade. So we have, you could either call it relative strength in ES, but really most of the market at the time was strong with the exception of NQ and a handful of tech names. We had big time weakness in NVIDIA and a few other semiconductors. And so with that in mind, if you are focusing on some type of long trades, you want to be looking at where is the easier structure. Where is it? It's definitely in ES, right? Pre-market already tested that prior day high. You got the pullback here, bounce versus some prior day structure, and then a move up and through that prior day high. Now, ultimately fails to sustain above that prior day high, but overall, much easier long opportunities within ES for today. Now we can see that price is down into the session low, down through that prior day low, still trading into the upper part of this previous structure, right? Now contrast that with NQ. So that would be the equivalent of NQ trading up here. Where is it right now? It's down through here. ES again, that would be like ES down through here. And so you could see the difference in the structure. They build out similarly, but as far as how they're trading right now, there's a major difference. Just look at that Thursday, June 13th and June 14th, where price was at that time. Again, they built out a similar structure. Where is price right now? Big difference there. And so what I'll be looking at here on ES for tomorrow is essentially how this prior area of resistance continues to trade. Essentially right, I have two levels of interest right through here. So that's going to be 520 and 510. I want to see if buyers start to step in this area. And then if not, again, we can expect price to trade down into 490 and then the downside of this structure, which is down into 470. So pretty straightforward. Just to keep it super simple, what we can do for tomorrow is just watch how price trades versus today's low. That'll be kind of the easiest approach. And then remembering that NQ definitely has a much larger potential structure breakdown here. Essentially, if today's low fails to hold. So we'll see what that overnight action looks like as well. It's not uncommon for sessions like this to, show some type of big washout in the overnight session, right? And then you start to get the bounce as well. So we'll take a look at it tomorrow morning, see what kind of updates we have with price, see what kind of updates we have with structure, and then just take it from there. But as of right now, it's looking like 750. Today's low, main watch for NQ, and then this 510 area. Today's low, prior structure high, main watch for ES. Noting on both of these the fact that the near-term structure is definitely looking more bearish, especially on NQ. No doubt about it on NQ. ES, still a little questionable just because we have this prior structure area over through here. Then remember, keep an eye on your daily as well as your weekly. Take a look at the difference here. NQ, big exhaustion bar last week. Big wick on it. Decent wick here, but not quite the same. And ES is not through that prior week low just yet. Details make a big difference. So hopefully that is helpful. If you guys have questions about anything, feel free to shoot me a DM. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow morning. Have a good afternoon.